New Zealand may be a small country, but in the wider world what we do, use and consume affects lives everywhere. So I'm on a mission to see how we're treating our backyards both here and further afield. What are we doing to be cleaner and greener? What do we need to change? And what does the future hold? So join me to Radar as I go global. Don't worry, I'll plant plenty of trees to offset the travel. Now, where's my passport?
New Zealand used to be a grow-your-own kind of nation because we had no choice. Nowadays, though, most people just go to the supermarkets who buy the food from suppliers who source it from, well, goodness only knows where.
If you grow it, you know it, how it was grown and with what. But that's a luxury most people don't have when it comes to their kai. I'm often surprised at how much food we import, given that our country has such an abundance of fertile land. So, with local food in mind, I'm helping Fruit Trees for Auckland plant a veritable orchard in a local park.
Apparently, a square hole is a lot better for a round plant because it gives a chance for the roots to run off and find their little corners. Because if we put them in a round plant in a round hole, the roots continue to go around. That's something I've learnt this morning. You can teach an old dog new tricks if the dog is willing to learn them. I do love a mandarin. So there we go, only another 79 to go. Go well, little tree. Feed the children. They're grasping little hands.
School lunches are inspected periodically, and nurse follows up with a talk on good nutrition. Realistic food models are used for demonstrations. Lectures to parents' associations on health and diet problems of children are well received. Parents are keenly interested and find these talks very helpful.
I think that makes it smoko time.
Just purchased a burger from my local burger joint, which I guess technically means it's local food. Although the real question is, how many of the ingredients are actually local?
The pickles are from India.
The pineapple's from Thailand. The beef might be local, but what about the garlic that flavours it?
As it's cheaper from China, it's likely that'll be where it's from. The sesame seeds are courtesy of our trans-Tasman neighbours, and the HP sauce is from Holland.
So I guess it's hardly local fare, but if there's anything we can take away from this, it's that my mother was right. You really shouldn't play with your food. I've deconstructed my dinner. Don't think I'll bother reconstructing it. Just have it as is. It's the new thing, deconstructed food. It's all the rage.
And given the outrage in the UK over their horse burgers, it's no surprise people want to know where their food comes from. E13 is a company specialising in spotting food fraud, especially food masquerading as ours. They map produce at an atomic level, as Rebecca is about to show me.
Hey, Radar.
Hello, Rebecca. What's happening in here?
This is where we've brought our samples to get analysed. They get brought into solutions, so these are asparagus seed extracts.
What?
And they then get analysed through this big fancy machine.
They don't make them sexy, do they? The octopole reaction system, there's not a lot of flashing lights and carry on. I keep waiting for a fax to come out of it.
This machine can measure things down to the sort of parts per billion, parts per trillion range.
And from that, you can tell what?
We can tell the concentrations of somewhere between 20 and 40 different elements that originally come from the soil and get taken up by the plant and are present in the seed. Right. And that gives us our fingerprint back to where the seed was grown. So for meat, for example, we can actually get it right down to what farm an animal was raised on. And with seeds, we can get a Canterbury signal, New Zealand signal, and then that's really distinct from any other country that we've ever measured. And that's because of the climate in New Zealand. A lot of the isotopes that we measure are influenced by the atmosphere and the weather. And then our soils and our geological makeup give us a unique trace element fingerprint as well.
What's the future?
Lasers are the future.
Right.
So then we're not limited to getting things into solution. So we're hoping that in the very near future we're going to be able to take a single seed, fire a laser at it and figure out where it's come from.
E13's HQ is in Mosgiel, and that's where New Zealand's honey vault is. It contains nationwide samples of our liquid gold, catalogued and banked to help stop honey fraud. It's the brainchild of Helen Darling.
We can't show you into our official honey vault because unauthorised personnel are not allowed in there, I'm afraid, which is me and you.
Even though you run the company?
I know, that's rough.
Obviously, that's not the official honey vault. It is a little bit more sophisticated. We've got a file box. Essentially, this is creating a database of New Zealand honey.
If we needed to look at a honey that turned up our international marketplace, we have some reference data to look at it. We've been asked to go and speak to somebody who turned out to be a honey smuggler. He was trying to work out how to get around our system.
Right. And there's that much money in it that someone will be a honey smuggler?
Huge money in it. It's very serious. If we can't protect our own industry or the New Zealand industry, then it's very vulnerable. All it will take is one rogue player to put something in a jar and say it's from New Zealand and it kills somebody or hurts somebody, then it's the whole of the New Zealand brand that's damaged.
And I guess we saw that with the melamine scandal in China.
Exactly. So, you know, we don't know what's going to be the next melamine.
No.
The opportunity does exist for us to protect brand NZ or NZ Inc. by having this reference data that you can check things against when and if there is a problem.
Do you have to kind of put yourself into the mindset of a criminal?
Well, you do have to think, what are the gaps in the supply chain? So if somebody was going to be devious, where would they be devious? And then we want to have reference sets or reference data from before that point of deviousness, so to speak. So, yeah.
You have to sit at home going, stroking a cat.
Yeah.
What to do with honey.
Yeah.
Out there somewhere, even as we speak, honey criminals are perpetrating their fraud.
Yep. Yeah, they're laundering.
Honey laundering.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
New Zealand's food purity is literally our economic meal ticket, but just as crucial are the varieties of food grown, which is why I'm off to Peru to find out what the humble potato can teach us about the importance of biodiversity. But first, a little local food in the form of Peru's national dish.
Ah, gracias. Oh, it's come with its little feet. This is great. I'm a big fan of preparing animals with their feet on, just as a reminder of what they were, and they have thoughtfully left not only the feet, but also the head. That is a guinea pig. When it comes to food miles, this particular guinea pig has travelled from there, just into there, and now back out to here again. So that really is a distance of metres. That is eating local. Very gamey. A little bit like rabbit.
I'm in Lima, Peru, taking a quick Spanish lesson from translator Cesar to improve my Peruvian.
Buenos dias. Mein hambre is raider.
That's good.
Cuy con papas fritas, por favor.
Me gustan tus ojos.
Me gustan tus ojos.
Perfect.
We're headed for the potato fields around Cusco, but we've gotten sidetracked by a side dish. For many Peruvians, the perfect accompaniment to potatoes is the guinea pig. On the outskirts of Lima, Carmen and her husband Ulysses' guinea pig farm not only puts food on the table, it also provides a useful byproduct.
Because of the manure. They actually, not because of the meat of the guinea pig, but because of the manure. That's why they were looking for when they start this farm. Because she says, this manure has an enormous power, energy. That's why they wanted this manure from these guinea pigs.
Do they taste different?
No, del punto de vista de la carne, no. El sabor depende mucho de la alimentación.
Tasting comes from the feeding. We actually do not feed them with these artificial fatteners because the tasting of the meat is not really good. She's going to catch him.
Tiene otra.
This is a power stat.
A ginger power star. It's not often you hear that phrase. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, pretty much. By pressing here, she knows this is the stat.
Oh,
this is the male.
That definitely looks
Es
male.
machito. Esa es una foto porno.
Yeah, she says, this is like a porn. Now it's becoming a porn movie.
It is. Well, that's pretty pornographic.
All right.
All right, that's this little
Machito.
guinea penis.
Ya.
Guinea pigs produce a surprising amount of high-potency poo. Rather than waste that waste, Ulysses is harnessing the resulting methane.
This is the manure of this guinea pig's manure. You see?
Wow.
It's the shed of the queers.
Yes.
It's warm because of the activity of the microorganisms. We built this biodigester, Chinese model. This is an stomach. It needs lunch.
Yes.
So we prepare a cream, very delicious cream, with guinea pig shed and water, and feed through this mouth.
And then it sort of farts out biogas.
Right.
Just
And
like a
then
stomach.
The microorganisms eat this manure and produce gases, and then this gas is used to cook and for lighting.
Right.
And have you done anything to that? That comes straight out of there, straight in the pipe, straight out, straight like that.
And then here, this can be also transformed into light.
Ah,
You see?
look at that. That's just poo gas.
Pure gas.
Poo gas.
Yes.
All over the world, right now, there's a whole lot of manure going to waste.
Right.
All those little guinea pigs over there busy going about their business to produce heat and flame. And the irony is, I suspect that many of them are then cooked on said flame. South America was the birthplace of the potato, and Cusco's hills are home to thousands of different kinds. We're used to a couple of standard varieties, but relying on so few leaves us vulnerable to pests or disease wiping them out. I'm on my way to Peru's potato park, but my potato pilgrimage is a little stymied by some kind of festival. Peru's potato park is 4,000 metres above sea level. That's higher than Mount Cook. Here they continue to grow thousands of varieties of potatoes each season. That's the only way to keep them all in existence. And they aren't just food. They're used for religious ceremonies, treating illnesses, and even for finding a wife. Already I've achieved a better harvest than I did with my last potato crop. They've only been going for a couple of minutes. Mum is beating me. And she can probably do this all day. Done it for 5 minutes and I'm ready for a meal of potatoes.
And what's absolutely amazing is you can look up on all of these hillsides, right up almost to the ridge line. There's more of these crops, all planted by hand, harvested by hand. This is a lot of hard yakka. Just little wonder they need a high-carb diet.
If you want to eat this potato, you must put the potato in the water.
Ah, yeah.
At least 7 days.
You have to soak this one for a week before you can eat it.
Yeah.
And when you do, is it nice? Good potato?
Okay. So in this potato park, there is more than 1,350 varieties of potatoes.
Wow, 1,350 just in this park. That's a lot of potatoes. We don't have potatoes like this in New Zealand. What is this one?
The name of this potato is Posakason Wakachi. If one of his son wants to get married with some lady who's living in this community, he's gonna give to the lady. You have to peel up this. The thing is, if we see this potato, it has a lot of eyes. She should peel up very carefully. You know, at the end, the potato look the same. If it's not, he can say, the lady, my dear son, is not good for you. The potato comes from that.
So like a test for test for a wife.
This is good potato for Hanover. But you have to boil the potato and eat with the skin.
Oh, I have to have the skin.
And even the water, you must drink. That's
drink
really
the water
good.
as well.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea. I'll remember that. Not really sure what I expected from Potato Park. I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to be driven around a manicured lawn on a little train with carriages shaped like different potatoes. I mean, it's not kiwi fruit world. I seem to be covering a lot of the fruit and vegetable themed parks of the world. What I did see was a lot of people working incredibly hard. It's got to be a pretty harsh way to make a living, bending over like that and harvesting potatoes. But I guess at the end of the day, you can have a hearty bowl of potato soup. I don't think I'm going to look at potatoes the same way again. It's easy to forget that you're at altitude until you attempt to do something, such as stand up or walk. Then you become a little bit breathless. I hope I don't suffer brain damage. How would you know?
Just be content to snuggle down under my alpaca-themed blanket. I really hope that somewhere along the way I can buy a jersey that matches this blanket.
That'd be awesome. I'm just going to probably lie here and dream of a nimble-handed woman who can peel a bride's potato. Never really thought potatoes would be that racy. While normal tourists flock to the Incan ruins at Machu Picchu, I was content to simply peruse Peru's potato park. Turns out I wasn't the first New Zealander to pop in. The locals told me about Rob, who'd been there to study the ways Indigenous food helps to preserve culture. So I'm off to see Rob in Whakatane to talk taters. There's more to these potatoes than meets the eye.
There is, man, there is. They call them Māori potatoes. They came with the early Europeans, and they came from Peru originally. So they've been halfway around the world. They had, interesting names. Tutai Kuri is one. Have you heard that name before?
Yeah, well, I've heard the two words, but I haven't heard the name applied.
Well,
so essentially, dog poo.
Yeah, dog poo.
Yeah.
A descriptive name.
Does that have anything to do with the taste?
I don't think it doesn't taste like that when I've eaten it.
No, right.
Urinika is another one.
See, that's a far more interesting name than agria.
I think so, man. Definitely.
When you look at a potato or kumara,
yeah.
What do you see?
What do I see?
Yeah.
Well, I certainly don't see something that just fills my stomach. And I think that's the nature of all living things, that they have an essence. And I think it's sometimes with the commercial world around food production, we forget that a little. We've been distanced from it, so it's not in our vision, it's not in our awareness. There's people that maintain heirloom varieties. There's people that maintain traditional varieties of kumara. The kumara is an interesting one because there was a guy in the 60s who went around the Pacific and around South America as well, and around New Zealand, looking for traditional varieties, old varieties, because this new variety had come in. When he left his job at the DSIR, they said they wouldn't keep this whole collection. So a Japanese organisation said, oh, we'll take it. So the whole collection got taken off to Japan. And so they had to go to Japan to bring them back. So 6 of those traditional varieties they brought back from Japan in the early 90s, and now those have spread around the country through those networks, through Māori and Pākehā networks.
And oddly fitting in some ways that journey has encompassed almost the entire Pacific, from South America all the way up to Japan, all the way down to New Zealand.
Yeah. Oh, that's the journey of the kumara.
I guess one of the things that, it's easy to forget in this day and age is that food does have that special position. Cultures are built around it or through it.
Yeah, there are, parts of society, I think, which feel that sense of connection, but they don't have a kind of cultural reference in the same way that those communities back in Europe who are still growing those, or Māori communities here.
These days, we take it for granted that modern science and industrial agriculture will provide us with a plentiful supply of food. For pre-European Maori, a successful kumara harvest may have meant the difference between life and death. As befitted a crop so crucial, everything from the seed to the ground to the worker was tapu and swathed in ritual. In some cases, the penalty for breaching protocol was death. Which makes me pretty glad that it wasn't my job to tend the sacred spuds. I'm even gladder that we live in a world with more than one variety of potato. Someone else who's keen on variety is Wata, another Whakatane local who's encouraging both local food and biodiversity.
Very good, thank you. You'll go to a supermarket and they'll have pretty much exactly the same thing. And I've just come in here and already I've seen stuff that I didn't even know existed, like garlic flowers.
Exactly.
Those are apple cucumbers.
Apple cucumbers, mate, yeah.
Man. Because often you only get an apple cucumber when your mum turns up. Here's a bag of apple cucumbers.
Yeah, that's the same as when we used to garden with my koro in the gardens. You'd always have apple cucumbers. Add a bit of water and vinegar with a little bit of onion. Add that together, mate. It's just a beautiful, easy type of salad, especially during the summertime. Yeah, no, you're right. You don't get to see many apple cucumbers, but we get those locally grown. 35% of our shop in here is actually local products, so we're really proud of that. And we're looking at over the next year or two to increase it and hopefully create our own infrastructure for top of the crop. Good thing about it is that it's not travelling from afar, it's just down the road and you're getting it almost on the same day. Can't get any fresher than that. Local kamo, which is grown just down the road in Torere. So it's the real traditional kamo, not the hybrid stuff.
And I see the bread there. I don't imagine too many people are stocking that either.
Oh, mate, the old rewana bread, especially with 45% of the population here being Māori, we go through a lot of rewana bread, and that's locally made in Te Tiko, just outside of Whakatane, about 10, 20 minutes away. And that just flies out the door, mate. It's a beautiful, traditional, indigenous bread.
Wata's passion for produce came from learning to garden here at Te Pāho Marae.
It's almost as if the marae grounds were colonised by corn.
Well, basically, until, the whānau decided enough's enough, really, and trying to get back to how we traditionally were and growing our own kai.
So when you were a kid, if you were standing here, what would you have seen?
Just maize, complete maize. That's all that we ever saw as kids, was just purely maize, which is, obviously not beneficial for our people. So
there's only so much maize you can eat.
Well, that's right.
Which is almost... It's nice to see that there's kumara here and that maize is slowly being pushed back.
This has been a long time coming, but now we know we've got the resource and the capability to do it. Why not? It's here. whenua is here to grow those veggies, and how much more sustainable can that be?
I noticed that Uncle doesn't seem to like wearing shoes.
Nah, mate, he doesn't wear shoes. I've never seen my uncle with a pair of shoes. Very, very staunch to his kaupapa and keeping grounded with papa tuanuku, so obviously nothing between his feet. Feels that grass or that mud or whatever through those feet, stones.
Takes it the whole concept of having your feet firmly planted in the earth quite literally.
That's right.
Who would have ever thought that the biodiversity of potatoes would be so entertaining and thought-provoking? It strikes me as incredible that there can be this variety of potatoes, you know, a bride's potato, a potato for hangovers, a healing potato, a potato for strength. Yet hundreds and hundreds of different varieties, and yet what do we have? A boiling potato or a roasting potato? I feel as if somehow we're missing out on something.
What I'm not missing is the importance of protecting the quality and diversity of our local food. People say we are what we eat, but perhaps it's also fair to say that we are what we grow. So here's hoping we continue to grow richer and more diverse.
And now to sleep, perchance to dream of sweet, sweet potatoes in all their many and glorious forms. Baked potatoes, boiled potatoes, the mashed potato, the French fry, potato salad. Oh, and then of course there's that French thing where you slice them and you put them in a creamy sauce. That's fancy. Oh, there's a hash brown.
Join me next week for a peek at some green design ideas, including turning old tyres, cans and bottles into houses of the future, and meet a chap from Kapiti who uses a pile of rocks to air condition his home.